Man, I wish every week would have been Throwback Week because we celebrated 50 years of the NFL today over the weekend. We went back to the 1970s with our NFL on CBS crew. Look at Evan Washburn, man. He just nailed the look. The glasses, the yellow, the whole thing. And then, of course, we have Iron Eagle, J.J. Watt. Elite 1975 vibes, if I must say so myself. So let's welcome in Evan Washburn, who's going to be emptying the notebook for us from that Steelers-Patriots game. But first, Evan, I got to back it up, man. Your 1975 look, I feel like you might have been like, you've missed your time. Like, that is where you should have been living. I feel like you were best dressed, but what was your biggest takeaway? Whose outfit did you love the best? And tell us all about the experience. It was really, really cool to see.
Well, what better job than the one we have, Jacqueline, where we can dress up at work and be celebrated for it. And look, it was a ton of fun. Rich Valenza, who's been at CBS longer than I've been at CBS, so 10 plus years, did a phenomenal job with everybody with support in terms of wardrobe. And he hooked me up with that jacket, the shirt, the tie, those shades. That was a late ad and a great call from Rich. And no, it was really cool. And obviously Ian and JJ put their flair on it. But the aspect that probably didn't get discussed enough was how I had to balance what I did in that first open shot and then how I had to proceed through the rest of the game. I actually threw on our conventional jacket that they had made those patches for because I just didn't think I could go up to a coach at halftime, Mike Vrabel, after Drake May just throws that pick in the end zone with that whole get up on and try to have a serious journalistic style interview. So it was trying to live in two worlds, but man, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just envisioning you chatting with Mike Vrabel and those yellow sunglasses. It's kind of hilarious. We loved it, Evan. It was so much fun to watch. Let's get into this game, right? Because the Steelers, typically, you know, in recent years, the defense is fine. And it's been a very different conversation, you know, through the first two games or so. The defense really showed up here against the Patriots after a rough first 2 weeks. So how necessary was this win for Pittsburgh in terms of a defensive effort, Evan?
It's a great point. I think they needed that performance from the defense more than they actually needed the win. Now, the two things happened in conjunction because of the play of the defense. But you think about it through the first 2 weeks of the season, they'd given up nearly 300 yards on the ground, nearly 800 yards through just overall yardage allowed. 30-plus points in the first two games. It was just so uncharacteristic for a Steelers defense. It's the highest paid defense in the NFL. And then on top of it, they were dealing with a ton of injuries. They were down up to 4 starters for this game, and they delivered. And look, it's not like they're playing Buffalo or Baltimore or even Kansas City or the top tier of the AFC, but it's still an NFL offense that has some talent. And we'll get to the Patriots in a little bit. So I just thought it was so important for this group because as much as we'll talk about Aaron Rodgers today over the course of the season, the reason the Steelers are going to win this season is because of their defense. To have TJ Watt have 2 sacks, Cam Hayward just was a wrecking ball throughout that game, especially in the first half. They needed that. You could sense it, Jacqueline, on the sideline. There was a bit of a sigh of relief, like, all right, we got back to who we are on the defensive side of the ball.
Right. When you think Steeler football, you think about that really tough defense, right? You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. We're going to keep talking about him. And he said to you, Evan, in an interview one-on-one, hey, the defense came out and played incredible. I didn't have a good game. So what else does this offense need to workshop here as we look ahead?
Workshop's a great word. And I thought Aaron was extremely accountable after the game. It seems to me, just from being on the sideline for 2 of their games, week 1 against the Jets and then this week, that they're still building out their chemistry, their continuity, and that's to be expected. A lot of new pieces. Think of it like this. The Steelers offense is in their beta version. And I think the aspects that need to really come together are, what does Aaron want? What is he most comfortable with? And then how does that work with what Arthur Smith wants to do and how he sees this offense holistically with all the pieces? I think they are aligned in wanting to work together, but just because you want to do it together doesn't mean that it's going to happen immediately because they've been in 2 different worlds. Aaron's been doing what he did in Green Bay for all those years, and then his last 2 seasons with the Jets, and then Arthur Smith's got his Tennessee roots, and then his time in Atlanta, and then last year in Pittsburgh. So how that comes together over the course of the next couple of weeks. They go to Ireland. Obviously, they won't be there all week, but that adds a layer to kind of the growth of this entire team. But I think you saw early in the game, they were committed to running the ball. I think Jaylen Warren can be your lead back. Kenneth Gainwell gives you something. The rookie Caleb Johnson's kind of on the sideline right now as he's having some growing pains as a rookie. But then they kind of got away from it. They had a bunch of 3-and-outs. Aaron throws an uncharacteristic interception, and they were stalled. But the fact that, Jacqueline, they could make that drive to win the game, I think shows you what the potential of maybe version 1.0 or 2.0 of this offense could be.
Yeah, and there are a lot of comments, too, about Aaron Rodgers and him having leadership at that position, which has been something that, notably has been missing from that locker room there in Pittsburgh as far as the quarterback position. My favorite part about this whole segment, Evan, is you being able to tell stories that you weren't able to tell on game day. So what was another storyline that stood out to you from this game?
Well, and you would understand this, having done sidelines before, but you're so much in tune with what's happening on the field. And at times, the Patriots offense was moving the ball at a pretty efficient clip. And one of the things we wanted to get into, and we touched on, was this sort of third act for Josh McDaniels in New England. And it's a unique one because the previous two times he's run the offense there, he's been thinking, or it's been in conversation, okay, when's he get his next shot to be a head coach? It wouldn't appear that that's really in the offering in the immediate right now. He's had his opportunity in Denver, then obviously accepted the job, didn't take the job in Indianapolis, and then had his opportunity again in Las Vegas. He seems so comfortable to be back in New England after a year away from the game. And then you marry him with Drake May, and I think there's a potential for this to be extremely potent and productive for years to come under the direction of Mike Vrabel. They still got a lot of work to do. But I also think just where Josh McDaniels is as a guy who's not even 50 yet, to be at a place back where it all started and within the offense, proving to his players that he has all the answers for them. It's just a matter of them getting an understanding of his entirely next level offense that is often described from players to us as this is Tom and Josh 20 years in the making, and Tom being Tom Brady. So that whole Josh McDaniels conversation wasn't something we really got deep into because every time it looked like New England was going to make plays offensively and we might give him some shine, something went wrong. And that's what happens when you have 5 turnovers.
Exactly. And speaking of those turnovers, not a very Vrabel-like game. Turnovers, penalties, all of that. So, Evan, what is your confidence level in Vrabel to be able to kind of instill more discipline in this team on the field moving forward?
Extremely high, because he's proven to be able to do it. But, man, that game was not one for just sort of the overall resume or picture of what this organization, this team is hoping to build. I mean, he rattled through what he wants the identity to be, and it was things like clean football, situational football, taking advantage of bad football, having an energy when it comes to offensive operation. They didn't have really any of that. There were flashes of it, but you can't turn the ball over 5 times. They had a lot of penalties, especially early in the game, which can stall things. And I think that's a real frustration right now for a head coach who, as he described to us, has patience going into this year. There's a urgency to win and to show progress, but they are going to be patient about that. But man, Sunday in a lot of ways did feel like a step back.
Yeah, patience. That is key. I feel like especially with fan bases, they want to turn around within 1 year. Evan, we certainly appreciated emptying the notebook for us here for the Steelers and the Patriots game. And again, I wish it was 1975 vibes every single week as we look ahead to week 4 in the NFL. Evan is going to be heading to Atlanta for Commanders Falcons. Again, that is week 4, 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday on CBS.